going to your break and get in line for lunch. And that's fine, that's really fine because my message for you today is really, really simple. I only need you to remember one word. One word that I have been practicing for the last few days, and I hope the pronunciation is right. The word is chameleon. Right, I know because of pronunciation, or maybe you don't know this word, or I didn't pronounce it correctly. I'm gonna show you an image, and you're gonna know what it is. Right, this is a chameleon. This is a small animal that changes colors when he needs to. This little animal is the inspiration for my presentation for you today. We can learn a lot from this small animal. First, why change? Why do we need to change? We need to change for several reasons in our lives. Sometimes we make a decision, and sometimes life makes us change. Which one's better? Changes are necessary. If we do not change, we're going to be run over. We don't need a reason to change. If we do not change, the world is going to change, and we are going to be left behind. And a good thing is that our body, our mind, is built to adapt. It's built to be flexible. And therefore, we are created to change and to improve ourselves constantly. I recently watched a TED Talk about an angel investor who invests in startups. And one of the things she said that she paid the most attention to is the capacity for people to change, for leaders of companies to change. This is very important for every one of us, even if we don't have a startup. One of the things she said that we can use to measure our ability to change is remember our job interviews. We are constantly asked, tell us about a time when you needed to resolve a conflict, or tell us a time when you needed to do something specifically about your work. I want you to think about a time when you needed to change, and you did it, and you succeeded because of it. For many of us, I believe every one of us here had problems during the pandemic, haven't we? This was a change that affected the whole world. Do you remember where you were when that happened? I want you to think about it. When the pandemic started, I was serving as a volunteer for the church, and this affected our work tremendously. Because in this job, I needed to talk to people face to face. We talked to them on the streets, we knocked on their doors. We didn't have phones. We only had a small phone that only made calls. But when the pandemic started, we had to stay home. And well, now we couldn't do our job anymore. Isn't that right? Wrong. We needed to keep doing our jobs. That was a time when I needed to adapt. When all the missionaries that were serving my mission needed to adapt. We started making phone calls. Now that we didn't have the flexibility to go and talk to people on the streets, we used what we had, our little phones. We started calling people we already knew to check on them, talk to them how are they doing. And that's how we continued our work. Again, like a chameleon. We adapted. Adaptation is necessary for survival. And during this experience, the adaptations continued to happen. We needed to continue adapting and improving. How are we going to do now? A few weeks from that, we needed to change again, because we received our phones that were just ready to ship, and in about 3 weeks, we had our smartphones, so we could work from home, messaging people, not just calling them on the phone anymore, but video calling them, messaging them through WhatsApp. Then it changed, like a chameleon. In this job, it was very important for us to understand each other and to listen to each other. One of the things that happened because of the pandemic is many of our colleagues who worked with us in this volunteering project, they were sent back to their own countries, and we were left with only 1/3 of the workforce we had. Again, we needed to adapt, like a chameleon. We needed to work more, cover more areas, and that was great because we had more areas to explore, more areas to do our work. A few weeks from that, another change. We received missionaries who were serving in other countries who were Brazilians, and they came back to help. We received help from them. When we are going to make changes to an organization, to our lives, it is really important to know what we're doing. Because change is different than be changed. And how can we know? How can we understand what we need to change? We need to talk to other people. We need to get information from them. These new missionaries who came from other countries, they all had new insights. Some of them had already experience working with technology and talking to people and helping people through the technology, something that we didn't have. So it was really important for us to listen to them and learn from them. Even though they were new to our missions, new to the culture that we had, we needed to listen to them and get the most out of them. And that's what we did. Like a chameleon, we changed. We changed the way we thought, changed the way we worked, and that's how we continued to do our work. And I have to say that the same work that we did before the pandemic, we continue to do after the pandemic. Because we were like chameleons, we adapted, we changed. That's why it is so important to be able to change. Listen to other people. Let them know that their opinion matters. Their opinion is important, and we can learn from them. We can learn from everyone in this room. But, as I said, change is different than being changed. There are situations in our life that life changes us, but it's way more comfortable when we change ourselves. So what is the difference? What is the difference between change and be changed? Intention.
We need to have the intention to change. We need to be willing to do it. We have to listen to other people, willing to let them tell us what we need to improve. That's how we can improve. We let them do it. We allow ourselves to change. Of course, it is good to have the capacity to improvise, to change things on the moment, but it's way more comfortable, way more effective to plan ahead, to plan our changes ahead, to listen to everybody that is affected for those changes, so that we can make the best changes possible for everybody, and so be more effective. You all must have listened some memes in the internet about improvise, adapt, overcome. We can actually skip the first part. Improvise is good when you need to, but adapt and overcome are things that we need to do constantly, even before we need to change. So that when we need to change, we are ready. Remember to be like a chameleon. I remember one of my favorite movies is about a boxer called Vinny Paz. He was a world champion, but like a chameleon, he needed to change. After a tragic accident happened to him, he lost movement on his spine, and the doctors said that he wouldn't be able to do any sport anymore. But he worked on it. He worked so hard and had a lot of patience to let his body heal. And he recovered. He recovered so well that he went to be a world boxing champion again. And in the end of his career, an interviewer asked him, "What was the big thing that happened to you? What happened to you? Because you were not supposed to be here." The thing he said, I will remember for the rest of my life. He said that when people tell you that it is not that simple, you cannot just do that. You cannot just go and do it. You cannot just be one way and change it completely. He said that he didn't believe that. He believed that it is that simple. That's something that I remember and I want you to remember as well. It is that simple. Just change. Like a chameleon. When we change, we allow ourselves to be better. It is something so easy to do. We just need to start. Start our changes. Remember always to be like a chameleon. And remember, it is that simple. Just be a chameleon. Thank you.